In 1975, Khalid bin Abdulaziz became Saudi Arabia's fourth king.
King Khalid was a delightful man. He was not so keenly interested in politics as King Faisal was and as King Fahd was later on. He liked to talk about the desert, he liked to talk about hawking. When I took visitors to see him, he wanted to talk about his hawks. One didn't discuss politics with King Khalid on the whole. He would say, see my brother Fahd about that.
Saudi Arabia was enjoying an embarrassment of riches. With a tiny population estimated at 4 million and only 500,000 literate male adults, it was hard to put to work an income of nearly $1 billion a week. It was a lot of cash. Saudi Arabia embarked on a rapid course of buying and building. Foreign contractors rushed in.
Saudi Arabia was the only country that was booming. There wasn't any work for Western contractors anywhere else in the world. So everybody was converging on Saudi Arabia. Everybody was desperate for a piece of the action.
You would go away for a summer holiday and you'd come back and you get lost. You wouldn't recognize the city you had left just a couple of months before. So things that would normally have taken 20 years to do were done in a few months. And it made people a little bit crazy. A little bit crazy.
We were building 2 schools every 3 days. We had to build 7 universities. We were trying to do so much in a constrained period of time. So the debate was, do we import foreign labor, or do we wait until we train our labor and then carry the projects ourselves? And I was of the opinion then that the decision that was taken, the time to import foreign labor, was a great decision.
So you began to have this skewered system where the native population didn't do very much, and most of the people who did the work were expatriates. If you look at even in Saudi Arabia today, population is 16 million, but the expatriates are perhaps 6 to 7 million.
Among those that accumulated massive wealth during the boom time was the bin Laden family, becoming the principal builders to the royals. Another consequence of the boom was massive amounts of official corruption. Much of the corruption concerned Saudi purchases of Western military equipment. Deals were riddled with influence peddling, bribes, and oversized commissions. There was also real estate fraud.
The main device for getting money from the government into the pockets of the princes is through land sales, but only the princes can register land in the desert as theirs. An ordinary citizen, Abdullah Fulan, cannot go out and say, I'm going to take this piece of land and put a marker. Only the princes can do that. So when the government then needs land to build a project, that they have to buy the land from the princes, and at astronomical prices. If downtown New York, if not downtown Tokyo at that time, unbelievable prices.
The way I answer the corruption charges is this. In the last 30 years, we have implemented a development program that was approximately close to $400 billion worth, okay? Now, look at the whole country, where it was, where it is now. And I am confident, you know, after you look at it, you could not have done all of that for less than, let's say, 350 billion. Now, if you tell me that building this whole country and spending 350 billion out of 400 billion, that we had misused or got corrupted with 50 billion, I'll tell you yes, but I'll take that any time. There are so many countries in the third world that have oil that are still 30 years behind. But more important, hey, Who are you to tell me this? I mean, I see every time all the scandals here or in England or in Europe. What I'm trying to tell you is, so what?
The Saudi elite became notorious big spenders in the casinos of Europe. The royals, with their huge monthly allowances, spent seemingly endless vacations there. Saudi leaders lost credibility and respect, especially among religious conservatives.
They're so corrupt in every sense, in Islamic sense, in financial sense, administrative sense, in every sense, that no way they can reform and go back and become faithful to the country, let alone faithful to Islam. So the only way to save the country in every sense, even in the basic human sense, is to change the whole royal family.
In 1979, across the Gulf in Iran, another corrupt absolute monarchy, also backed by the U.S., fell. It was overthrown in part by fervent Muslims.
The royal family was scared of the same thing happening to them that happened to the Shah, and namely that the royal family or the Saudi system would be overthrown.
There was good reason. The pace of change in Saudi Arabia brought the contradictions between Islam and modernity into the open. Again, many in Saudi society wanted to put the brakes on westernization.
The problem was these foreigners brought in their nasty foreign habits with them, and that exposed the royal family to criticism from the religious right.
With the oil boom, it was natural that you are pumping a massive dose of Western culture in a country that is loaded with people, 70% of whom perhaps are extremely conservative and really extremely Muslim fundamentalist, almost radicals.
One of the warning signals where the society is saying, look, enough. This is changing too fast for me. I can't keep up. Slow down. Was in 1979 with the hijacking of the mosque in Mecca. I think this was a symptom of this trauma. You just can't drag people into the 21st century by the scruff of the neck. You can't do that.
On November 20th, 1979, several hundred Islamic radicals took over the holiest of the Islamic holy places, the mosque at Mecca.
They took the microphone in the mosque and announced for the rest of the world that the Messiah was here and that people should come and pledge their allegiance to him.
When the incident at the mosque occurred, the government and society realized that the ship had come unmoored from its fundamentals. It was a warning bell. Society was awakened, came back to God, and heeded the causes that might lead to a greater catastrophe.
I remember asking my Saudi friends, what do these people want? And they say, well, they want to basically go back. They want to go back in time to a purer world, to an Islam that wasn't threatened by the West, and where the words of the Prophet, as they believe it today, ruled. And I said, well, how do they practically plan to achieve that in modern Saudi Arabia? Are they going to tell everybody to get rid of their cars and stop watching the television? He said, yes, so far as I know, that's what they want. And they have this hopeless attitude to the modern world.
They were asking the nation and people to go back to the original Islam in primitive ways. So they were against television, they were against schools, they were against universities. They just want the country to be governed by mullahs, by religious scholars. They didn't believe in governments. They think government is kafir, it's non-Muslim any longer. They believe that all the new methods and means of life is nothing. They want, again, like all the Ikhwan, what they wanted is jihad against infidel.
The royals went to the ulama, and the clerics issued a fatwa based on the verses of the Quran. The fatwa allowed the government to use all necessary force to retake the mosque.
The meaning of it was that these people were apostates who had taken over the mosque, and therefore anything could be done to get them out of there.
After an 18-day standoff, the Saudis, with fatwa in hand, routed the militants. 120 soldiers died. The leader of the insurgents, Juhayman al-Utayba, was a direct descendant of the Ikhwan, the Bedouin warriors who had fought for and then rebelled against King Abdulaziz. Juhayman and 62 others were beheaded.
We killed the extremists of 1979, but later on, like a few months after we killed them, we adopted their ideology. We gave them what they wanted when they were alive. So in every level in our society, I'm talking about the educational system, I'm talking about the media discourse, I'm talking about the relationship between the government and the people, I'm talking about even the relationship between people and the people. We started competing on how to appear more conservative, just to protect our reputation and to protect sometimes our safety. We had to pretend we were something that we actually were not.
As the Saudi royal family moved to increase its religious standing, millions of dollars were diverted to religious education under the ulama. They taught Wahhabism as the only true form of Islam, and holy war against infidels as the obligation of every believer. New theological schools and universities were built to produce more clerics to help spread the word. Saudi charities raised millions more for the cause.
We don't have taxes in the kingdom. People don't pay taxes. However, we have a religious tax that's dictated by our religion, that is compulsory but not enforceable. Why? Because it's left to one's faith and belief and so on. And it is supposed to go to the poor. If you cannot find anybody needy, you go to the next neighborhood, or the next village, or the next city, or the next country. Well, in Saudi Arabia, God blessed us with a lot of wealth. We take care of almost all our people. So we send it to Afghanistan, to Bosnia, to Senegal, to anywhere in the world, to Africa, Asia, my point, the Arab world, as charities.
They were able to open up mosques in London, in Africa, in the United States, in Southeast Asia. And that was seen as part of their responsibility as wealthy Muslims. They had to share that wealth with Muslims elsewhere, and they had to be seen as supporting Muslim causes.
In 1979, the Wahhabis found a rallying cause like no other.